GM. This video is going to be a quick introduction to frames. So what is a frame? It's a mini app that you can use right from within your Farcaster feed. It's got a powerful set of primitives that let you build things like games, checkout flows and experiences, or even let you take on-chain actions like minting an NFT right from within your feed. To understand how frames work, we're going to go back to Open Graph, which is a standard pioneered by Facebook in the 2000s. So if you type a link into a messaging app or a social app today, you'll notice that it gets expanded into a rich preview. It just doesn't show up as a link. There's usually an image, there's a title, and there's maybe a description telling you a little something about what the page is. And the way this works is the server that actually hosts the website is going to return a series of meta tags. And these tags might look something like image and a link to the image that's being served. It might also have the title and a description and other things. So whenever a client sees a link, it goes to the website, fetches the page, which contains these meta tags, and then it expands them to give you the rich preview. Frames take this very simple idea and extend them to be much more interactive. So rather than the simple one-directional, give me a little bit of data about the page, the first thing frames do is they let you add interactive elements to your preview. So when serving a frame, you can define an image, but you can also define things like buttons. So you can say, for example, that there is a button called submit and a button called cancel that should be returned within this frame. So you'll actually get, for example, this frame rendered when you serve this. Now, the second part of what makes frames really powerful is that when buttons are clicked, the server actually gets a response with the context of who clicked the button and which button was clicked. So in this case, I might actually get user Alice, and I might get button submit. So the server now knows in an authenticated way that Alice is the one that clicked this button. And finally, and most importantly, the server can actually return yet another frame back to the application. So once it's gotten this frame, it can send back another response, and it can actually tailor this response based on who clicked it and what button they clicked. So this is a very simple primitive that leads to a bunch of interesting applications. So for example, you could build a frame that showed you a couple of buttons and things that you could buy. But depending on who clicked the frame, you could send them down very different experiences. If the user was someone you didn't know, you could send them to a checkout page where you showed them the normal price. And if the user was someone you knew, and you could do this analysis based on Farcaster's social graph, based on a bunch of data that your server has, because you now know who clicked the button, you can then tailor this experience right within the feed and give them potentially a lower price or a discount for being a repeat customer or someone who follows your account or anything like that that you want to do. And so frames, to reiterate, bring three important extensions to Open Graph. They make it interactive by adding buttons. They let you return frames, so extending it into sort of this multi-page application where you can have many different flows. And because they're built on Farcaster, they let you use Farcaster's social graph and all the data on it when you're making decisions about what frames to show next and how to build newer frames. So we think this is a really powerful construct. It's got a very simple set of primitives. A frame is basically an image and a couple of buttons. But because of the ways that you can chain frames together and the fact that you can use Farcaster's social graph to extract information about who's clicking on your frames and interacting with your frames, it's going to let you build really, really interesting applications. And the main advantage of frames is frames help you get distribution for your applications right from within the Farcaster feed. Previously, users had to click out, they would have to come to your page, they would have to log in before they could begin doing any interactive things in your app where you knew who they were. But with frames, this is seamless. As soon as the user clicks a button, you immediately know who they are in a verified, trustworthy way, and you can immediately start delivering them the next page or the next screen of your application without ever having them leave your Farcaster feed. Cool. Hopefully this covers the basics of what frames do, and in the following videos, we'll go into a little more details about the security model and how frames work on a very technical level.